Hello, hello, hello. Raptor, Raptor. What we got here? Huh? What's for dinner? It doesn't look like a baby chicken or a rat, does it? Tormon will love that. Oh, it's just a piece of lettuce. Oh, want to throw some critters in there? Huh? Want to get some critters in there too? You know you want it. Can't resist that lettuce. Good morning, everyone. Look at that munchkin. Hey, James, how are you doing? Making it every day at a time? Sasquatch! I hate him, so I feed him vegetables. Look at them go. Oh, nom, nom, nom. Goodness gracious, that must be like, never mind. Every day's a struggle. I know my DUI was in '05, January 25th, and I had to admit things. I even had strict rules about not drinking and driving, and then somebody called in an emergency, and off I went. I know you have more room in your belly than that. Drew! Yes? Who was complaining on a chat room about him not not eating? But this video, he can watch just the first minute. Now he's going to be all obnoxious and I always do this. I can't ever get it right. We're going to try again. I'm going to my coffee. There we go. Let's take you for a ride. I saw some of Adjust Your Focuses videos this morning, and she had a lot of deer in her 3 or 4 videos she had uploaded. And Tormon ate this morning. I watched that. It's kind of windy today, but oh, it's quite windy enough to make a trip to the Lake Michigan to see the waves. The other day we had 14-foot rollers coming over top of the pier. Mr. Statue. I can just sit here. He's mocking me. Time for the blood pressure. Morning, Greg. You'll have to play the beginning of the video if you want to see him eat. He was right on top of it. Oh, it's have improvement in one little area and 2 new things go wrong, Greg. It's and some days it's just the plain stubbornness that gets me through. But I guess I have to look at the bright side. I'm sleeping again, so thought I had it, but let me look in my paperwork. Yeah, I have those things, Tex, I tell you. I'm getting there, Tex. I got most of it here. I just have to be careful or I move the letters and numbers around. All right, you can retract it. Or I can retract it. On Thursday, you go in? Well, if you can admit what happens is because of you, I think you're farther ahead than if you try and admit that you don't have the power to control your own actions. I went through the 90 days in a row at AA, and some of the stuff I think is a good model, but I really don't think saying that I don't have control over myself is a good way to be responsible, because it puts the blame on something else. I mean, if it works for you, but I don't think it's reality. I think you're just trading one symptom for another. I can't do. Yeah, I got it, Greg. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Maybe I'll get some more people to notice me. I know the whole government's screwed up that way, James. It's ridiculous. When I was a kid, went in for 85% unemployment in our county. I went in for assistance to pay for our bills. And the lady helping us said, well, here's what you could get, but if you go ahead and get pregnant and have another kid, then this is how much you could get. You know, The rules, regulations, and system is not designed for the people. It's designed to make their job easier. That's why my family farm in Tennessee is no longer our family farm, because the government came out with welfare, and people said, "Cool, I'll get some help in the winter when there's nothing going on." And they're like, "No, no, 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 no. If you work during the year, we won't help you. But if you don't work at all, we'll pay you every single month." Who wants to go out there and work the cotton field in the middle of frickin' summer when you could sit at home and collect a check every month? We had a family that lived down the road from my aunt that up north that were 7 generations welfare. The welfare office lady retired and wrote a book about them. It's like, must be nice. The government comes in every other year and gives you all brand new appliances, fixes your house, pays for everything you need, your car, gas for you to be able to go to the back and forth to the welfare office. I'm like, how do people get that kind of? Yeah, you ask for help and you've admitted that you're a criminal. Misdemeanor for disorderly. I don't suppose the fact that you're trying to get help might mitigate the sentence. Usually, the more willing you are to try and be better, the less willing they are to try and make you. You got everything set up for Kim when you're gone? Up to 150 days? Well, the only advice I'll give you is don't do what Otto did. I don't think flipping off a judge is a really good, smart plan. I know his was in the heat of the moment, and I understand how he feels because you stand there completely helpless. All the righteousness is on your side, even the law is on your side. But the people that administer the law just don't happen to be on your side. Yeah. The speech at least might dissuade him a little. I mean, better than screaming at him. Just don't make none of that prison moonshine. Man, that stuff is awful, man. God. Sterno and chicken fat and peach juice and oh. I will. There's a little bit of humor though, James. Is that my son-in-law works at Elkhart Dodge, although it's in Michigan, not in Indiana. I think I think I can say I've been in over a dozen courtrooms during cases, and I definitely disagree that justice is blind. Each judge seemed to have their own set of laws they go by. It costs $40 a day. They charge you in Indiana. Must be one of those private prisons. I'd like to give you hope that if you go through it for a while, James, it gets better, but I really can't. No, I think what he said, Greg, was that it costs you $40 a day in jail. They charge you. The sentence could be up to 150 days. So it could be nothing. It could be extending the probation. It could be more rules and regulations. He may have to put on a blood monitor or whatever. Hook up his car to the breathalyzer. let's see. $40 a day, $1,200. Well, $1,200 a month is pretty close to you being able to live in an apartment or a trailer. For up to 150 days. Yeah, I figured it was a typo with those big fingers of yours. I don't know what it looks like to you all outside, but about 3 days ago, the leaves started falling. That hurt. I don't know if we'll focus or not. Give it a chance. Nope, it's not going to focus on the. Oh well. And I knocked over my riser. Oh, see, AK Twin Mommy, I got her a polar bear, so when she comes in, she doesn't feel left out. But anyways, the ground's covered. I can't see the grass anymore. The squirrels are going absolutely out of this world crazy, collecting nuts. Instead of the once a day, they're coming through here 5, 6, 7 times a day. It was just a typo, Greg. Don't just chill out. El Jefe, hello. Look how many typos I have, Greg. They charge you $40 a day in jail, and he could be in jail up to 150 days. There you go. Hey, Effa, what's up? Love your work. Now, Effie's been getting it lately, too. Oh, I have a horrible time reading El Jefe because of my eyes. And I just read, I'm coming out today. It's like, what? Not that it would be a problem at all. Oh, sorry. Jesus, I went to bed. Chuck Bronson was on. I got up an hour later. Chuck Bronson was still on. I just. Oh, I didn't mean to offend El Jefe, but oh my God, it made my morning. No matter what, the rest of my life, though, I'm coming out. It's probably going to be that Tom Cruise South Park episode. I'm not coming out of the closet. Oh. Hey, I got some sleep 2 days in a row. I'm doing a little better. almost 45 minutes today. The last time I had checked up on that because of somebody I knew was in, it was a screwy system based on your income, and it's like, well, I'm in jail, I ain't working, so I have no income. That to me seemed stupid. Oh no, it's the past 12 months. It's your ability to earn. I'm like, oh, where have I heard that? Oh yeah, the unemployment office. And where friend of the court. You have the ability to go out and mow somebody's lawn and make $25. So, well, I don't think he's skipping off to Canada, Tex. You're not skipping off to Canada, are you, James? Because 150 days in Canada would suck way more than winter's coming. You'll end up in some cave with a moose named Bubba. Oh, civil? Yeah, I know where you're coming from. That's how I got up on the medical bills I owed. As the state of Michigan sent me a Michigan Health Portal insurance package saying I qualified for medical insurance from the state of Michigan that covers everything. And my program had no deductibles, no copays for nothing. Everything's covered. And so I let my doctor, who I just get my blood pressure pills through, set up an appointment, do my blood work, sent me in for an EKG, sent me over to the foot doctor to trim my toenails, sent me to physical therapy, all amounted to just over $6,000. And then they send me a letter in the mail saying, oops, we had a computer error and you actually don't qualify. So we've taken back all of the money we've paid everybody out for your medical bills and you are now responsible for them yourself. I'm like, good fucking luck collecting that money. I asked them when I walked in the office, will I pay anything? No. You got to see the person when you leave the office. I asked that person, will I be paying anything? No. And then, oh, we're sorry, we made a mistake. And now, even though everybody said it wasn't going to cost anything, you need to pay $6,000. Don't get all worked up, Greg. He's going. He's never said he wasn't going. We're just talking about it. And I think you're going the wrong route thinking that he's trying to get out of it. He's upset because he asked for help, and because he asked for help, now he's got to go spend time in jail, possibly. Or if he denied it and just lied and said, no, 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 we wouldn't be facing this issue. It's what they say. You never talk to the cops. But anything you say, anywhere, anytime, can be used against you. Even if it's something you were doing that was good. Look at that one video that's out with the military guy that disarmed the drunk with a pistol and got charged because he had possession of the pistol after the incident. You know, oh yeah, that's literally that's the law. A reasonable standard would not agree. Neither does the reasonable standard agree that if you ask for help, you're violating your probation. They force you to make the decision, does the ends justify the means? Okay, I won't. Sorry, Greg, didn't mean to trigger. It wasn't my intention. I mean, I found out the other day. I thought I knew quite a little bit, and I don't even know what the First Amendment to the Michigan State Constitution is. And when I found out, it sure as heck wasn't what I thought. And then as I read I read the second one and went, oh, wow, this is interesting. This gives the citizens the right to dismantle the government and start over if it's in our best interest. Because the First Amendment to the Michigan State Constitution says all, and you use the word all or every, it's pretty damn unusual in law, and it says all the political power resides in the citizens of the state of Michigan. All of it. The government don't get any power. They work for us. I know that's the normal line that they use. You work for me, but this to me was a whole different angle of the when there's a cop and no law being broken and the mayor and me, I'm in charge. The mayor's not in charge. He don't decide shit. The cop can't because he only litigates law enforcement. And I say litigate because he doesn't enforce law. He determines subjectively what law he's going to biasly enforce. That's the way of the human nature. Yeah, I hate that too. Yeah, Chuck sticks with it. He doesn't seem to get tired of talking for 8 hours. don't talk much. You got to drag it out of me or write something in front of me that I can make fun of or discuss. Oh, and you have to wait till the 8th Amendment to get to free speech. And their explanation of free speech in the Michigan Constitution is kind of it's still something I'm pondering, because it said you have the right to speak, but you have the responsibility for your actions. That's how it's written in there. Well, Reptar, we didn't attract many women today. Maybe they knew I didn't use my deodorant this morning. Yeah, Greg, I'll let him explain it, but basically they're saying he violated his probation because when you go in for help and you admit that you have a problem, they can use that against you. But there may be more to it. We discussed that earlier, Greg. It's not the right time to run to Canada. There's all these billions and billions of little white specks that are going to start falling out of the sky. Dave, see, I passed, not passed, because there's an area, gray area, where they just have to say you didn't fail. Them to give me a second test, and they said you're trespassed from the building, and you don't get a second test. I said, okay, thank you. Could you sign this paper saying you won't let me have it? And they're saying, if you'll leave. And I said, I'll leave right away. They signed the little piece of paper. I drove my ass down to the unemployment office and said, I failed the drug test. And I asked them to let me take a second test, and they said no. And the the unemployment office said, they did. You know, that's a violation, and you're automatically approved for unemployment. So I collected unemployment. Oh, God. Dave C. didn't. I'm trying to think if there's another Dave that changed their name, or did you have another name or handle, or has it always been Dave C? Well, it's a Thursday. That's a good day to go to court. but he may want to extend your AA or put other restrictions on you and let you out. It doesn't do him any good to put you in there unless he feels like it. We'll hope for the best. And we'll look for either you or Kim to go live afterwards to let us know what's going on. Wow. Weren't you just like up a few hours ago with, hey, Coachella? Yeah, we're sitting there shooting the shit. I really respect how you handle helping the homeless. That really, to me, you get big two thumbs up for it, man. It diminishes it if you think you're gonna make money from it. It changes the whole value system. I mean, I'm glad they would do it either way. Blaze away. I finished my first bowl of the day. Reptile just a little bit of lettuce, a couple of mealworms. And, uh, now, Greg, I've been following the mandate that was signed by Trump, and looks like now that they can fire some of those losers, it could turn around. But it also said you can go to anywhere once you're turned away. Now, when that goes into effect, it's the government. So, but I think that was really something that should turn out good for the veterans. Well, yeah, Coachella. I mean, we know how much it triggers people that aren't homeless. No, I've been in that situation more than once, and you get through it if that's what you want. And if it's not what you want, you don't. It's the same thing I talked about with the AA. I like everything about it except for saying that somebody else has got to be responsible for my actions because I can't control myself. I think the combination of mental health issues and just controlling the drug situation, however you control it. Oh man, I'm so bad. I ordered a underwater GoPro style camera for my therapy, and it came, and I bought an SD card for it, and I can't even get the damn thing to turn on. My son-in-law got about 2 years ago or 3 years ago. He got one that you could program, and it had a camera right in it, and you could see it on his phone. So I know what you're talking about, but I would have to get 4 drones because I'm going to crash the first 3, and a couple extra cameras because I break everything the first time I try and use it. I broke a big Bertha golf driver by hitting a golf ball. I broke a metal hammer the first day I used it. I'm good at tearing buildings down and breaking shit because once I break it, you don't fix it. So I get really durable stuff and I wear it out. Gray dude, wait a minute. I must have my contrast off. That looks like a green alien. You getting buffering? Because I'm hardwired. It shouldn't buff too much. Aw, hey, sweetie. Jenny Jones is here. Yeah, I'm such a tech tart. I thought if I plugged my phone into the USB cord hooked to my to my desktop computer, that would somehow link them. It doesn't work that way either. Another bowl, or should I have a cigarette? Oh, good coffee this morning. I must have put a little extra grounds in there. A little stronger than normal. But if any of you are looking for something new to say in your auditing, I would suggest you read your state's constitution. I was just blown away last week when I was so wrong when I thought I knew what mine said. Michigan says nothing like what I thought, and it doesn't follow in line with the order that the United States Constitution comes in. The First Amendment in Michigan is all of the power, political power there is, resides in the hands of the citizens, which is kind of different. You got to wait till the Eighth Amendment to get to free speech and free press. And even both of those come with a caveat that you have free speech and yet you're responsible for what you say. And I know there's some silver tongued devil talkers out there that would love to use the Second Amendment to the Michigan State Constitution, which says, "Hey, if we get sick of the government, we just change it if it's in our best interest." It gives us the right to dismantle the government whenever we feel it's in our best interest. There's one that could give you some material to talk about. I know that's what I was saying earlier, Greg. I did that today. I went to bed at 3 and I got up at 4:05 and he was still on. And we're way over this side of the country, so I mean, when they got 3 hours on me, I'm sitting here at 3 a.m. and they're going strong at midnight. I'm going, it's 3 a.m. here. I really respect the way Chuck works the system. And of course, he likes my dragons, so that's always a bonus. Yeah, I've had a few of those cars. We used to have a car dealership on the main strip in Grand Rapids that Orson Eco, I think was the name. They gave once a month they gave away a 99-cent car to the first person that was at the door Monday morning. So obviously everybody would go Sunday night. Well, I needed a car. I went Friday night. And the car they give you usually is something you have to tow away. Well, this one had 3 studs broken on one of the tires, a flat tire, the radiator had a hole in it, the radiator hose was shot, 2 of the plugs were fouled. We worked on it all weekend. It wasn't even mine. And when we signed the papers, they said, "Yeah, you got a record coming now. We're going to drive it away." You're going to what? Yeah, they're here working on it all weekend. It runs. It was a 69 Pontiac Le Mans. And the only back seat floor there was the carpet. The metal had all rusted out from under the back seat. But it was a 99-cent car. I think I put 25,000 miles on it with 1 oil change and gas. Yeah, I was on 10 325s for several years, Tex. Well, I smoked too, but they had the same effect basically. When I took those, you couldn't really remember. You didn't build up a long-term memory of the pain or any. In fact, you put a cigarette out and you couldn't remember just smoking a cigarette. I don't think it really ever reduced my pain any. It's like I've tried to explain. It's when you stop thinking about pain to the point where a commercial comes on and it's a fishing commercial and you go, "Oh, I could. Oh, fuck! If I got in a boat, the waves would kill me getting in and out of it. Oh my god, I can't go fishing." But I thought I could, right? So that's the part that is the relief, because that's the part that puts you into such a deep depression you don't want to be alive. The pain's still there, but you're managing it. Of course, because of all of my pain, I've learned acupressure, meditation, massage therapy. I spent 6 months with a Reiki master, 5 months with an acupuncturist. That's how I actually worked on my acupressure, because when I got the acupuncture, the little needles, they come in this little tube, plastic tube that's really rigid. And we were discussing acupuncture and a pressure, and he says, "Yeah, on your middle finger, the joint that between the joint that attaches to your wrist and the first joint there, if you push towards your hand, if it rolls up into a bump, that's actually the same nerve bundle according to the brain, which uses multitask. That's the same as your hip. So if you massage that bump out, your hip feels better." And that's how acupressure works. your body uses multi pain paths to do multiple. An organ, a muscle, both use the same pathways of the nerves. So when it fires in the brain, you don't actually feel the pain. You just, your brain tells you it hurts and where. So it's a way to really trick your brain. And he was like shocked because it worked. And then next time I went, we would talk about another place and another this, and how I get rid of my migraines. There's a little divot in the bone structure right above your eye that you can feel where the nerves run through. The divot's there to keep the nerves from getting smacked. But if you put pressure on them, you can reduce your migraine. You do that kind of stuff when you grow up in a family that you don't go to the doctor. And your mother's fairy tale remedies like putting butter on a burn, yeah, some of them don't work. Well, mine are. It's a multi, because my birth defect was I don't have muscles around my eyes, so they just kind of bug out and they bounce around however they kind of feel like. And because of that, my whole face squeezes to try and hold them in. So from the back of my neck all the way around to the front of my face, I'm clenching all day long. And eventually the tension headaches there, and then the migraine comes. But I can pretty much control them with weed. The migraines don't get very bad. A few ibuprofen and a couple minutes of therapy, acupressure, and the migraine doesn't get to the point where you, like a hangover pain that you want to die. But it was, hit and miss, and I've dealt with it my whole life. So it's so bad, literally, that when I tried to do the sleep CPAP machine, you adjust the mask to your face. And once I fell asleep, the mask didn't fit my face anymore. That's how much I scrunched my whole head up trying to hold my eyes still. Gulf War syndrome, yeah, I've read, there's 3 or 4 articles on it. But I went through the steroid injections for several years in my hips. My first ruptured disc was at age 17, and I've had several since then, and not one of them has put me down or taken me out of work for one day. It's a matter of dealing with the pain, accepting it, and not letting it control you. Unfortunately, it's there to tell you to stop doing what you're doing, and if you ignore it, it just gets worse. But you work 2 jobs, you never sleep, you never heal. It's just like a car, the chassis wears out even if the engine's still running. But I've always had a fascination with the brain, and the newest stuff that comes out is really interesting to me, reading about the studying the brain waves and the different parts of the brain that they now have mapped to some degree of accuracy. I think I was telling a story the other day that literally they can show that you make a decision before you even know the situation. And it's in microseconds, but it exists. The cop pulls into a parking lot and sees you. Before he sees you, his brain has already taken the information, processed it, made a decision you're a criminal, need investigating, and now his brain is going to reverse engineer every part of the situation to make that story work. And that's how things work. That's how the brain works. After you've decided yes or no, this or that, then the part of the brain that is your conscience takes over basically and decides whether it fits into the narrative or if you need to change your mind. Thank you for coming in, Coachella. I'll catch you when you're on. You have a leopard gecko? That's cool. I know what those look like. They're pretty active too compared to him. I know. Oh, I just thought you ran together. I do that all the time. I don't push hard enough on the keyboard. Those crickets, oh my God. I've had crickets 3 or 4 times for him that are live, and he'll jump. If there was a cricket down in the corner by the food, he would jump from where he's sitting all the way in the air to catch that cricket. And the crickets, man, they can jump out of this aquarium if I don't have a top on it. So it's I have to take the stuff out of there when I feed him crickets. It just gets too dangerous. The live mealworms he likes too. And seasonally, they're easier to get transported when it's cold, especially. The crickets, they don't ship them in the winter. Little beetles. Now, when I was getting them live stuff, I was watching my grandkids, and they're an Amazon shopper family. So I actually ordered all my stuff, like crickets and live mealworms, through Amazon. All right, James. One day at a time. If that's too much, 1 hour at a time. Once you can do 1 hour, do between each meal. Just you have to deal with it, man. That's my advice. And you have a great day, man. I'll be thinking about you. Good luck on Thursday if I don't talk to you before then. Jenny just popped in and said hi. Hasn't said nothing since. She doesn't have anything to say to me. I don't know. The weed's on top of it. The camera's on the weed. It sucks. Oh, there she pops in to say goodbye. Or she's telling them to take care of all. I'm not sure which. Ah, you're driving. Okay. Well, I appreciate you just hanging. Even though it seems like I babble on in every chat room, when my arm's too bad or I'm too uncomfortable, I'll sit and lurk through a whole stream without saying anything. Oh, I forgot to ask him to hit the like button. Oh, I got 5 likes, more than normal. I need to get my notifications to go out better because I'm going to have all my equipment. May take till spring. Counting on my daughter to get my GoPro replaced. The sun keeps trying to break out here. If it got a nice sunset, I wouldn't mind running over and watching the lakeshore. If I can get out by then. It's like an hourglass that I've turned over. Every grain makes it harder as the day passes by to do anything. Yeah, well, I was getting mine because I was going to do deep water therapy, and I researched them, and I got like a $70 kit from Amazon for an underwater, not GoPro brand name. It was called 4D, and it was recommended by some of the biggest underwater cameramen that say, you know, when I run out, I've got 12 cameras sitting on the table. I grab that one. And it just didn't work. It won't come on. It says right in the manual to keep it away from strong magnets, and I'll bet it got shipped next to something that had a magnet in it. Yeah, this one was like 21 parts to it. You could attach it to different things. It had the well, the one thing I didn't get though, it has the wrist, the watch that you can remote control it, but the watch part isn't waterproof. But the camera is. But yeah, when I looked at them on Amazon, I read mostly. I read what the people who have bought them, and you look how long in time there's comments on them, and obviously what the comments are. Well, if my daughter would have sent it back right when I told her, they would have replaced it. But she's had it for 6 months since then. I told her, now just buy a new one and send the old one back. It's the same UPC code. But she's too busy. Well, I started doing it when we started growing weed, and I wanted to grow something for my pain. And my brother's in pain too. We're both disabled, so I got 3 or 4 different websites, and I found one called Seed Supreme, and it has multiple farms that it gets the seeds from. It rates what the seed does. It gives you the history of the seed. Good morning, Joe. And it has comments. And I would go back to ones that had been here, comments on it for 3 years. And we tried 13 different kinds. And as I got better at reading it, we got something right now called Super Kush #1 that is pretty killer for pain. Glad you could make it in, Joe. Cool. Which means you're not in jail or strapped to a chair. Yeah, it's probably morning to him. I've been up 6 hours already. Well, Joe, let's see if I got a spare bud I might have. Yeah, this stuff is so good. Move my camera. There you go, Joe. A little bud there for you. This stuff is so good. I'm telling you that this indoor grow already, clones have colas on them. Talked to everybody I could, and I still haven't found anybody they say they ever saw colas grow on clones. Even my sister, who went to college for 3 years on growing marijuana, they've been doing it for like 85 years in the Michigan college. I haven't seen the chat here for a second. I had to. I went to weed college too. She came out of college with 0 credits. Okay, she went to college for 3 years and had 0 credits. Yeah, for 85 years they've been growing weed at the college, studying it. Well, my brother and I, we built a room. He had a workroom that was half a story above the garage, but separate, and we built that into a room. And then he moved out into the country, and turned his basement into it. But that particular cola came from what was in his garden this summer. But indoor is twice as strong, twice as many crystals, 3 times as many crystals if you got a windy area. So the same stuff that I'm smoking outdoor come Christmas is going to be indoor. Oh my goodness. Well, this was only well at $3 a seed I paid. We got 9 pounds off of $3 seed with the mother and clones for one season. Hey, cop blocker. Almost missed you there. Yeah. Since we got our medical card in Michigan, we've grown our own. Um, Here's how I feel about it, Joe. When you grow clones and you put 6 clones in dirt, and it's not dirt, it's artificial soil, and you control the nitrates and you grow it for the 60 days, harvest it, and you pull the root out. It's pretty root bound around the edge of the plant or the edge of the pot. Okay, you take 6 of the other clones and you put them in water, and you pump that water in and out as soon as the nitrates get high in it. And the difference is, even with bubblers in it, that whole thing will be taking up 80% of it. will become roots. So physically, you've got 3 times as many roots. And the result on top is 3 times as many crystals. So my feelings on hydro is, if you want strong weed, the way to make the weed the strongest is to grow it hydroponically. It also is the easiest way to fuck it up. You have to control the pH of the water, the nitrates of the water, and it's a lot harder than controlling it in the soil. And that's how I feel about that, Joe. It creates more phenols. The flavor's way more intense. And it's, like I say, stronger. A lot stronger. I'm talking about a decade of growing with, and you think I'm OCD. My brother handles all the grow part, and believe me, his charts and his graphs, everybody who comes in says you know, you're lucky to get 2 ounces off a plant in 60 days, and he gets a half a pound. And they'll say, well, you're doing this wrong, and you're doing that wrong, and you should be using fertilizer, and you should be using this. And he looks at him and says, you dumbasses, how are you arguing with my results? How can you tell me I'm doing anything wrong when I get a higher yield, a higher concentration of THC than anything you grow? I mean, we use vitamin B complexes and 0.1% nitrogen. It don't need nitrogen. That damn weed will grow all the green plant you need. And we use organic kelp for liquid fertilizer. And if you ever really have some time on your hands and want to throw it away, get some organic kelp fertilizer and put it on somebody's flowers. You know, just go to somebody's house that has beautiful flowers and fertilize all their flowers, because within 2 days, the flowers themselves can completely change color. A pink flower can be blue in 2 days. A white flower can be bright pink in 2 days. It's, we were messing with his wife. Why are my white flowers pink? What did you guys do? Well, we had no idea. We were taking the water out of the hydro that we would drain, and we were just dumping it into the garden. You can get it at any grow store, and it'll create so much more flavor in the plant. They call them phenoms. Yeah. Well, actually, you know, what you're doing to get all the THC that you get is part of the chemical that produces the seeds. So you're frustrating a female, keeping her a virgin. You want to keep her a virgin right until you slaughter her so that you can sacrifice her. Does that sound familiar? Because once the seeds are there, that's where your THC goes to making those seeds healthy. That's why all that stem and seed shit that I used to sort through a Frisbee growing up is in the history. You have a good night, Joe. Even though it's already midday tomorrow to me. It's only fair that I sample that, but it isn't. Yeah, I've heard of people using worm casting. Um, I guess we obviously did that since we grew outdoor this year, and definitely his garden's full of worms. And he used a little neem oil to keep the bugs down. But it's just so expensive to grow indoors. It's crazy expensive for electricity. If you're just growing for two people to use it, you can almost buy it cheaper. You just don't have any control over what you're getting. Yeah, and I've heard fish oil and this, that, and all. I mean, it's a weed. You can throw it in the ground and it'll grow. It's just what you want to get out of it. It's like Spirit of Sky Blue learned about the watermelons. If you want to eat the watermelon, I mean, it's going to grow, but its main purpose was to grow and rot and plant the seeds. So you got to stop it from rotting by moving it and rotating it. I've seen a couple of shows on them harvesting their own casts from growing worms, and yeah, it works great. I watch one of the gardeners, backyard gardeners over in England, that he even puts his bones from his food in the grill and cooks them down to make bone meal out of them. Anything natural, I would say, over anything genetically altered. I mean, all the tomatoes and stuff that we grow, we collect the seeds and we make them heirloom by going 4 generations natural. Get rid of the genetics usually. Wow, now I'm really babbling. But everybody will have the way they want to do it, and to them it's right, and it's cool with me. Joe just asked me what I think. And if you'd have asked me when I was 20 years old about it, everything I'd have told you that I believed was wrong. Way wrong. To the point I thought Sinsemillion was just 5 generation old pot that didn't have any seeds in it. It's like the things that you hear, and they're too far out in the country. Have you even moved, Reptar? Oh, look at your big old throat there. And the light just really going to have to work on finding a way that light doesn't diminish. What did I do? Freeze my screen? Oh, yeah. Calls you a fool in your comments. Oh, yeah. My wife was a legal secretary and then an administrative assistant once she got a couple of years under her belt. And now she's like my ex-wife and the head of the legal secretaries of Michigan organization. So I had a lot of group get-togethers that were full of lawyers who thought very little of the factory rat who crawled in to eat their good food, who thought even less of them, especially when we would get into conversations. I would get yelled at every time we went home. Why do you always argue with them? I said, first of all, they enjoy it. Second of all, I was right. Yeah, Jenny, I spent in 2010 about 6 months with a Reiki master, and she brought me back from to being able to not only walk without assistance, but I could sit in the car and drive. And I matched her work on me with deep water therapy because I was a mile from the inlet, Boyne City, so I could drive 1 mile, get 100 yards out of the car, and be in the water. And I would do 40 minutes of therapy, which is absolutely necessary. I just can't manage a simple way to do it now because I'm going to use a walker to get to the water, and I have to use a float to stand up. But I'm working on it. It's physical therapy. It's about moving the fluids in your body to get rid of the fluid that you don't want. It uses heat and massage, and mine came with a happy ending. So just throwing that out there. Yeah, 1,000 watt is what most people go through. We had the grow light and the bloom light, but we use 600 watts. The amount of grow difference is barely measurable for the amount of cost. But I still do the acupressure and I still do the massages that I've learned. I just can't do my whole body in one day, but I try to complete at least like one leg a day and then one shoulder. And The acupuncture for my hips and spine I do every day, or the acupressure. And I still stretch every day. Do breathing exercises. Meditation I've kind of slacked off on as much. But I use that more and more as I have to accomplish more. But that my meditation involves two places. I have one place I go to where I walk down the rock steps into a rock room that has a rock bench in it and one huge fireplace. Other than that, it's completely bare. And that's where I go to dispel the pain. And then to relax, I have a meadow, a sloping meadow that's got an old fence line with a couple apple trees, and at the bottom of the grass is a nice woods. And that's been years of working those into where I can just hold those visions and focus and meditate. And the second one I use for relaxation. When I can't sleep after a couple days, I'll do a 30-minute meditation of that. Usually I wake up 6 hours later. Oh no, brighten the whole day up. Real Jingy stops in. See you, Dave. Thank you for coming in. Wow, Spirit, you finally caught my live. You counting the days down? There's 3 days left. Everything gonna be over Friday? I thought of you a couple nights ago when I walked past my back door to the kitchen and I looked out and they had about a 4 foot roaring fire. Of course, in the park, you can't have a fire that's not contained or that has flames that come out of the barrel unless you work here. And since he works here, he can do that. Yeah, Spirit James Jacobson was in earlier. He's got his court date on Thursday morning at 9. Well, Spirit, I actually was a union president, and I had to deal with us going on strike or not going on strike. And it was a crazy situation. I'll tell it sometime, but the point now is I tried to show them if we go on strike, you earn this much, which means you don't earn this much. Now, if you add the amount of weeks that we're on strike by how much you don't earn, it will take you at 4 months, it's going to take you 3 years to make up the money you lost. And in that 3 years, you're only going to make 10% more had you not strike. So you could make 10% more and not strike, or you could take 3 years just to catch up. But you got to do what you've got to do, and they will bleed you dry if they can. See you, Drew. Thanks for coming in. But they saved one in the contract, and from what I'm seeing on the new trade negotiations between the three countries, I don't see that affecting it stopping anymore. There's no real all the incentives I see that the president could give people to come back into the country aren't going to work with Mexico. I appreciate you saying that, Dave. I really do, because I really think most of this shit is boring as hell. And that nobody should watch it. I asked my daughter before I started going live, I said, "Oh, if I go live, are you going to watch me?" She's like, "Hell no." I'm like, that makes sense. Now I update her on how many views we have on the road trip we took. I hear you, Spirit. I understand. That's what I'm saying. When you make the decision, you got to look at you're only going to make. And I don't know how long the 250 holds out with the General Motors, but our furniture workers union was tied to the automotive industry, but it was separate. We affiliated, so we only had like 3 months of built up strike fund. On a lighter note, I did work because I worked. That was the first job I ever had where there was a union. And me being the person I am, they give you the book and everybody else tosses the book in their locker or whatever. I read it like 3 or 4 times and ended up being a really pain in their ass because I would read things like said that any new policy the company institutes has to be posted on all bulletin boards for 2 weeks before it can go into effect. So the human resources would come out with a new bulletin and say that the new policy, especially like the no smoking policy, effective immediately. Well, that broke the contract rules right there. So I just walked through and ripped everyone down off the bulletin board, throw them all away. They're like, "Why are these getting ripped down?" I said, "Because they're not right. They don't give us 2 weeks like we're guaranteed in the contract." But I became a union steward because it gave me a few bucks I didn't have to give to my wife. I saw 2 reports on it Sunday night, I think. But yeah, I'll check the UAW. But when I was a steward, they offered you a day off of work, paid if you wanted to be one of the people that would go on to the seminars. And I'm like, are you shitting me? Of course. I'll sign up for that. Paid day off. So the only seminar that was available while I was there was for 401k transfers because it's pretty technical. They had people there that have been there for 35 years on a retirement plan, and the company actually decided to shut down the retirement plan and open up 401ks for everybody. And everybody has their own opinion on what a 401k is. And to me, let's everybody put money into a big pile, and then the richer you are is the guy that gets to take the first shovelful. And oh well, if all you people that are putting your retirement into it don't have any shovelfuls left when it gets to be your turn, oh well. So, anyways, they knew it was coming in the contract and negotiated for as soon as possible. And the reason that you have to say that is because the government determines the transfer over the 401k, and they get like 6 months. So if you wrote in a contract that you do it this day and then this day, you can't bind them to that. Well, they were using that clause to say they couldn't afford to pay out. Well, when they freeze your retirement, they still earn the interest, and they get to keep all the interest until the government sends back the paperwork that says, okay, they're now in the 401ks, or they're paid off with the penalties. And our union president said, that's fine. And it took about 6 hours for them to have an emergency meeting and vote the union president out of office. And they voted me in. And then they voted to strike. And then I had to go in and sit in a meeting with 5 lawyers, the CEO, the plant manager, my department manager, and have all them say that we can't afford to do this. And I know they're just looking at me lying. And I said, without giving them any of the information that I knew, I let them just tell me all the shit they wanted to say. And I said, well, that's the way it is. And they said, yeah. And I said, okay, I guess we're on strike. And I said, it's already been voted on. So I guess I'm just here to tell you. And I got up and made it to the door. And it's like watching it on television. Jerry, could you come back here and sit down for a minute? We'd like to speak to you. I'm like, I'm not sure why. I mean, what's there left to do? Well, actually, we'll go ahead and start this process today. Oh, okay. You see, because I knew you had to. And of course, when the election came up, I wouldn't run again. I'm like, no, they're going to get rid of me. They tried to fire me 3 times after that. That's pretty much, let's get back to work. Reptar loves you too, Spirit, but he really wishes you'd send him a watermelon next year. And he loves roasted pecans. God, and this coffee got cold on me. Yeah, if you've actually voted to go on strike, the percent's usually in the 60s. My dad was at General Motors when they struck back in the 70s. That's when he lost his job because they had to have so many women and so many people that weren't white. And even though he was 20 years of experience in tool and die, they had to take his job, eliminate it so somebody could sweep the floor for 8 hours. But there is no discrimination against white people or white men, never. It took MIT out of my reach, bastards. Yeah, there I do have, I think, 2 channels I've subbed to of people that are talking about it. I mean, they don't have the videos where they visit every place like you've been, which is kind of like, I sit back and go, hey, there's Everyday America. And then you show the next video, hey, there's Everyday America. Even though, all the videos you see, it's like, it's in a different state, it's in a different area. I do too, but they don't let you post porn on YouTube. And the best I can get away from with is a little tail from Reptar, and he showed his little lizard titties the other day. No, 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 no. All right, now I gotta move. Well, if it don't work, Spirit, you bring that angelic dog and yourself over here, and I got a spare king size bedroom that's never been used since I've owned the place. You may have to eat prison food like I do, but bologna and hot dogs. Or Jack's Pizza. I call that prison pizza. NorCal Public. Why, man, all the talk we've had about weed, you just now get here? Yeah, that's a bearded dragon. I wouldn't go to Indiana, but Ohio's kind of safe. And I don't know, every place I've ever been in Tennessee is polite as shit. So, but Indiana, I've never seen a good part of Indiana. And you might ask James Jacobson about it too. You got up late? And you showed up late. But you showed up, and I appreciate you coming in. If you go right to the beginning of the video, actually, Reptar ate his lunch like in the first minute of the video. Spirit, you still there? It's really dark in here, but I'm about ready to cut this off, and I was going to show you. I haven't trimmed it at all. I've just let it go wild since you mentioned something. It was like right there at September 15th when we usually quit shaving because we're hunters. And so I quit shaving on the 15th. And I talked to my mom a couple days ago about Thanksgiving. She's like, "You're not going to show up with this big, huge, scraggly beard, are you?" Mom. There ain't much light, but I'll give you a shot of it before I come up here. That's how far it's gotten since September 15th. But I got so much scar tissue over on this side from burns from the sun that it don't fill in like it does on this side. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to trim it up and make it just a chin beard or something. But it definitely grows out like a Santa beard. Back when I hunted, it would be, and then fished on the ice. Man, you wanted all the beard you could grow by ice fishing. So come March, it was a good foot long. I hate this. All right. Well, you go hit the picket lines, and I'll watch the next video you upload. I have to get up and move around, and nobody wants to hear that. I don't even want to hear it. Finish this cigarette. Oh, I loved snowmobiling, man. We even had those ones you set inside a Raider and a Roamer that they designed for Alaska that had the twin tracks. We had a 65 Ski Whiz that would hold 3 people and had a gas tank on the back so you didn't slide off the back. I had some off-brand studded track with a little 292 in it that I could pull shanties on the ice like none of the speedy ones did. But we put a 70 horsepower 6500cc air-cooled engine in the Raider, the twin track, and took it 170 miles an hour across Crystal Lake. We could put it on the track down in Detroit, Pontiac, and run it on the track and average 100 miles an hour, where in 2 laps we lapped every other snowmobile on the track because they got to slow down to 50 or 60 in the corners. And this thing would take 70-degree corners at 90 miles an hour. It was amazing. But it wouldn't go through a foot of snow, fluff snow. It had to ride on a trail. But we had the Ski-Doos, the Chaparrals, the Arctic Cats, Rups. We never had a John Deere one. Though I saw one of the shows that had a John Deere snowmobile with a wooden track. That was from you. Oh, that's a trip. The heat kicked on again, and it's set at 65, so if that wind isn't helping and no sun, I'm going to have to pay it for heat today. Sucks. And I got a water Reptar. It's getting dry enough in here, it's evaporating out now. Don't forget to hit the like button so I can get more notifications sent out. It's the only reason to hit it. I know. I really would love to be on Lake Michigan and get some video footage. If I could manage to drag my ass to the van, I'd have to film from the car because the wind you would hear a fucking thing from the phone. And there's a nice spot it's the most crazy handicap spot I've ever seen. We have a county park, and it has handicap parking in the park, but you have to pay to get in the park. But on the edge of the park, away from the water, is a street that runs along the edge of Lake Michigan. Well, there's also a lookout hill that has a wooden path, stairs all the way up to the top. And it has 2 parking spots that are handicapped right beside it. Now, that's so that you don't have to walk up to 10 steps out of the park onto the road to go take 1,000 steps up to the top of the hill. It is insane why there would be a handicapped spot there, but I don't have to pay to park in the county's park, and I can be in a handicapped spot and still see the lake. But it's just insane the way they figure things out. I mean, seriously, a handicapped person that can't make those first 10 steps, they're going to make the next 1,000 steps. And I'm not exaggerating on the 1,000 either. This thing goes up and into the woods, and it keeps going up. I'll show it on my next video. I've got some videos I've uploaded from that spot. You can see there's a pavilion and sand in the parking lot, and then the lake's on the other side. But yeah, with those winds, there'll probably be 14-foot rollers crashing over the piers. Oh, 40-mile-an-hour wind wouldn't even budge me. I think it tipped the van over before it knocked me over. I got a pretty low center of gravity at this point. But I'm just trying to use my Streamlabs on my phone and get better at it and get used to it to see how it works. I did that one video from the park and it was beautiful. And then the next day I went and you couldn't get, the sound was like shot. It's like, I don't know what was different. Until I can do it in an instant, I don't want to do any audits. Yeah, if you go back and look at the one where I was sitting in the park on the wooden railing along the edge, that was a pretty nice shot. The water's got a little flex where it's blurry, so I wanted to change it. I think I was running 720, but it still was jumpy like when I was in the car riding. It goes up to 30 frames a second, drops down to 0, up to 6, it jumps all over the place. But when I can get around, I've got, if I get paid back the money someone owes me in December, I'll be able to be set up by the time it's warm enough to go back out and do. I got to go to the Secretary of State's and get my handicap sticker renewed. And according to the Grand Rapids Informed column in Facebook, apparently now it's not legal to film in the Michigan Secretary of State's building anymore like I did last time. And I need to go to the Grand Haven Police Department because I got to find out how a handicap stickered cop is a handicapped cop. Well, that's what they said. I haven't been there to see for sure. And Grand Rapids Informed isn't like anything but a group of people in Grand Haven that join and post stuff. So, you know, it's like, why didn't the bridge go up today? Or some of the stuff's really informative. That's where I learned about the scam they were running, where they were taking a kid and putting the address on a thing around their neck and having them stand there. And then when the people went to that house, they'd rob the people and then they'd go rob the people's house. So they actually put out a warning from the police department that if you see a kid and he's got an address stapled to his shirt, take him to the police station, not the address. Yeah, they run some pretty nasty scams over here. Most of it is centered around part of Muskegon, which is like 15 minutes from here, a whole nother town, but that's where a lot of the crime comes from. No, most of the public in this area is either senior citizens retired to the Grand Haven city, and right attached to it on the other side of the lake is Spring Lake, which is a younger progressive town. And then on the other side of the river is Ferrysburg. And it used to only be a town because you had to get in a ferry, a car ferry, to take your car around the outlet of the lake and the outlet of the Grand River to get to the other side, or you had to drive 35 miles. So it's called Ferrysburg. I lived in Ferrysburg for 3 years. My front porch was right next door to where all the cops hung out behind the old government building. And I would sit on the porch, smoke pot all the time with 3 or 4 cop cars sitting right there. The fucking lazy bastards never once came over to ask me why. Actually, I was breaking the law because you're supposed to do it not out in public. But I had my medical card. Well, that will be one of the places I audit to go back and see if they're still hanging out there all the time. I mean, there would be like 3 cop cars there 12 hours out of the day. And right behind that parking lot is the city storage shed for all the snow plows and work trucks and everything. And a good place that people would hang out and do drugs if they thought they could get away with it if the cops weren't there. Yeah, I was steward for the Furniture Workers Union of America and president for about 3 months. And that was so screwy because the company I worked for would sell it every 2 years or so. They'd sell it to another owner. And the way they ran the business was they would bring everybody back, get a bunch of stock inventory built up, and then let everybody back off work. Then they'd sell all the stock and then sell the company or sell all the inventory because they could get around all the tax laws and claim they were losing money. But it was so bad the one time the bank took money out of the union because the union's name on is the same as the company's name, only it says union at the end. Well, they drained our account to pay for a bill for the company, and they put it back after I made them put it back 60 days later. But I'm like, that can't be legal. The bank never got in any trouble for it. Look at him. He's got his mouth wide open. All right. Say goodbye to everybody. All right, guys. I appreciate you coming into my little hovel and hanging out with me. Yeah, but I gotta go before I start yelling. I'm gonna use an ice pack for the next hour. We'll see, y'all. Thanks for coming in. And Reptar and I say, we gone.